All right, so 80%. 80% of chronic disease, according to CDC research, is related to three things. Could be eliminated: poor diet, inactivity, and smoking. Still can't hear me? So by chronic disease, I mean a vast majority of cancer. We're talking the vast majority of heart disease, up to 90% actually of diabetes. So if that's true, if 80% of chronic disease can be eliminated by not smoking, exercise, and diet, then we probably should do that. And if it's, the next question really is, well, if that's true, why do we care about all this data? And there's a lot of reasons. As I mentioned, I'm pretty passionate about it. I brought my slides to keep myself on track. But the two things I want to focus on tonight, the first one, symptoms are too late. We all know treating late-stage disease is difficult. By using these new tools, new testing, we can catch disease early, and we can even prevent it. The second thing I want to touch on is it's really time for a little hope in healthcare, and here's why. You know, that CDC research, compelling, but it really is only part of the story. We now know that things like trauma rewires the brain. We now know that things like the social determinants of health. So your zip code actually might matter more than your genetic code. So although we need to eat better and exercise.
Robyn, can you get closer to the other mic too?
Yep, sorry. There's more to it. So just a little background on me. My career in medicine began, a little over 20 years ago. I was drawn to emergency medicine because you need to know a little bit about everything, but you get to really focus on the most actionable aspects of a patient's condition, even if that most actionable thing is offering reassurance. But it's impossible to work in healthcare without being profoundly aware of the limitations. And to me, again, the limitations were that symptoms are too late. So I realized if I wanted to make a bigger impact, I needed to learn more. So I started looking around and noticed there's all these new technologies, companies, frankly, an entire field that's evolving. Looked a little bit like healthcare, but not enough was connecting. You know, essentially there's a huge gap between what a lot of entrepreneurial companies are doing and what's actually happening in our clinics. And not enough people are talking about it, and I intend to change that. I also realized my title was a little bit ambitious for 15 minutes, or 12 minutes if I hear. So I'm gonna talk a little faster, which is actually easier for me, and just really focus on what's working and why it matters. And it sounds like this is a pretty savvy group. You know, precision medicine, is really the simplest definition: right patient, right treatment, right time. And the space is actually currently inundated with digital health tools, AI algorithms, apps, wearables, omics-based testing. And we have a ton of work to do in terms of cost and validation, but it's a really good time to be in healthcare. And there's tons of technologies. I'm not going to go through all of them. This is Ryan. So Ryan was born with a large blood clot in his left arm. His parents were told the arm had to be amputated just after he was born. They were also told that prosthetics are hard to come by because they're expensive and kids outgrow them. So his father took things into his own hands, literally. And this is actually a 3D arm Ryan's father printed for him. And although, of course, there are fancier, more expensive options out there, his father says he can actually make a new one whenever he outgrows this for about $200. And on top of that, he's actually started a business for other children. And I love how precision medicine really draws in people from every walk of life. So this is just an overview of some of the ways precision medicine is being used and, frankly, underutilized. So I'm going to show you some examples right now. I should have started with my disclosures. I work with several companies, actually. I'm working to create a virtual health network with Premise Health. I'm also working with Human Longevity, which is a company that does whole body MRI, whole genome sequencing, cardiac testing to really get a better picture of your health. On the right is another company I'm working with. It's called Choose Health, and they're We're trying to actually make it really simple. So that we've shown a really narrow panel of actionable biomarkers. It's direct to consumer. You can get it all from home, and you can track it, and you can interact it. I do believe that a panel of biomarkers will be our seventh vital sign. And one of the tenets of precision medicine is really that averages are inaccurate when you use these individual baselines. And there's no doubt that that'll, actually two things. First of all, it works because we need to catch disease early. The second reason I find it works, and this is from really my clinical experience, and sidebar, but I promise it won't go without my 12 minutes. We're accused in precision medicine of inundating people with data. I would disagree. I think our lives are inundating us with data. I don't know about you, but I did about 10 things wrong before 8 o'clock this morning. I should have flossed, should have called my mom, should have done some push-ups. So we're really drowning in all our shoulds. And if you talk to somebody about why they smoke, why they're not doing vegetables, why they're not eating vegetables, it's because they're already overwhelmed with the shoulds in their lives. So by giving them a clear panel and showing people that there's a lot more right with them than wrong with them, it actually gives them a sense of control. And it makes people realize which of the shoulds needs that volume turned up a little bit. And that's precision medicine. And I hesitated to show this case, but this case is one of the reasons why I'm here. This is a healthy infant born to healthy parents. And there's a gene that activates a medication called codeine, which is a pain medication. So essentially, this mom had a tear during childbirth, took the medication as directed, but since the medicine worked too well, her baby's dead. And the test that could have prevented this cost $200 to $300. So pharmacogenomics is drug-gene interactions. So we want to know, does the medication work? Is there increased risk of side effects? And the illustration here basically shows a number of people in red who failed to benefit from that medication. And these are the top 10 grossing medications in the US. So there's hundreds of drugs where there's already genetic information on the FDA drug label, paper you throw away. So we have these new tools, we just need to use them. I'm gonna tell you another short story. Because just by early detection alone, we can alter the trajectory of for many patients. On a shift in the emergency department about 5 years ago, had a 62-year-old male, funny guy, triathlete, attorney, and he somewhat sheepishly told me he had some back pain. Wasn't too bad, had been there a couple of months. And the only reason we had actually come in is his wife was sick of him tossing and turning at night. So we did an x-ray because he had a little bit of midline tenderness, and I had to tell him he had cancer, and that was eroding his spine. What you're seeing here is extraordinary to me because we can stop waiting for symptoms. So prostate cancer is the most common malignancy in men. The second most common cause of cancer death in men. And what you're seeing here is four different examples of prostate cancer, one on each row. And I promise not to do a lesson in MRI physics. But this was a study out of UCSD, actually published in 2015. But what they did is they showed that how aggressive a cancer can be without needing a biopsy. So columns 1 and 2 here are fused to make this third column. And we can basically better distinguish whether cancer is there and also how aggressive this is. No needles or scalpels involved. And certainly far outperforms any screening test right now. I'm going to talk about this one quick, I promise. So we typically explain the genetic code as 3 billion base pairs, or building blocks that basically make up the instruction manual of you. I prefer to think of a gene as a recipe because genes create these beautiful 3D protein structures. And I don't cook much, but I make a heck of a birthday cake. And I don't cling much to my Southern upbringing, but we don't buy cakes. So since I'm a little short on time, I'm just going to let you consider how many times you can mess up a birthday cake. And the reason why it's important is there's just as many ways that a single gene product doesn't turn out quite like it's planned. And it's a hard concept for folks because just as we're explaining, hey, there's a gene for that, now we're saying, oh, there's actually multiple changes within a single gene with different outcomes. But this is a big deal and actually gives me a ton of hope because there are so many conditions without treatments, and we're probably hitting the wrong targets. And this is actually a channel protein associated with cystic fibrosis. And again, that channel protein is that gene product. And again, now we have targeted drugs that can fix one of these defects, which is a great place to start. And I'm going to skip to the good part on this one. So this is a good story, I promise. So this really winds together early detection, precision diagnosis, and targeted treatments all at once. So this is Tyler, picture with permission, of course. He was born in 2004. In the first week of his life, his parents got a call saying he had PKU. So they did what you would do and Googled it. And so PKU stands for phenylketonuria, which means he has a defect in a gene that helps break down protein. What it meant to his parents was that on a normal diet, he'd soon fall behind on his milestones and have significant developmental delay. And the only treatment was a really restrictive, low-protein diet. So no meat, no wheat, no nuts. And he'd also be weighing and recording everything he ate every day of his life. So his parents did what any parent would do in that case and bought a lot of scales and made a lot of spreadsheets. But to offer up one last reason why symptoms are too late, and it's a great time to have hope, thanks to a screening test, this was even diagnosed. There are so many children right now who are losing milestones and deteriorating before their parents' eyes. So just the testing alone makes a difference. What's more, in 2007, the FDA approved the first medication to treat PKU. So it's actually a cofactor, so it's kind of a little crutch for the enzyme. In the past 2 years, 4 more therapies are in the pipeline, one being a gene therapy that's actually would offer a lifelong cure. And if that wasn't good enough, last year an enzyme replacement came on the market. So many adult PKU patients are actually on a normal diet for the first time ever. So that means they're no longer carrying around spreadsheets and scales. So you probably can't imagine how exciting that is to a 15-year-old, because that's how old Tyler is now. But I can, because that's my son. And I'll just stop there.